Welcome everyone to your Monday, September 22nd, 2025 Rotary Club of Ames. Beautiful day that it is. Let's go ahead and start with our Pledge Allegiance. If you join in that with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. If we could take a moment here as well to keep any loved ones or those that need our thoughts and prayers. We'll just take a moment here. If anybody has someone in particular they'd like to mention, feel free to unmute and go ahead and let me know.
Jamie, I'm going to say my husband. He just spent 7 days in the hospital and is out recovering. So he could just use little extra positive thoughts as he continues to recover.
Absolutely, Lisa. Lisa, what's his name?
John Magley.
John. Let's keep John in our thoughts. Glad is he home now?
He is.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's send some good thoughts and prayers that way as well. And just anyone else you can think of that might need it. Let's take a moment. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Yes, next Monday we'll be back at the Plex in person. It's been a little bit. We'll have speakers Emily Sargent, Nancy Carroll, and Moose. I'm looking forward to that. That's New Ames Animal Shelter campaign. So we'll hear more information about that. Exciting new project there for them. That's next week in person again at the Plex. And then for the month of October, we're going to start talking October already. We'll be at the Plex on the 6th, then online on the 13th, back to the Plex on the 24th, which happens to be World Polio Day. We will be having, I believe, maybe even on the 6th, some polio contribution boxes put out possibly to help fundraise for World Polio Day on the 24th. And then on the 27th, we'll be back online. So that's October. Celebrating the community. Here's some awesome photos. Thank you, Allison, for sharing this. This was last Wednesday. I apologize I couldn't make that. Looks like you had quite a bit of a turnout to help sort and package.
It was, yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was a lot of fun. We had representatives from 2 Lions clubs, 2 Kiwanis clubs, Altrusa, Optimists, and our Rotary Club. We met under the shelter to start sort of organizing, and everybody arrived just as the rain the sky opened up and we all got soaked, but we had a good time. And thank you to Kate Reynolds and Tom Walsh for joining me and representing the club. They added on the hygiene items for the Ames Community School District. That was huge and very well received by the schools. The schools had called WHO Channel 13, so we did have a photographer there. I never saw it on the news. Not sure what happened there, but we filled 5. There's actually 4 SUVs in that center picture. One had already left for MIPA. So we really had a great turnout. And when we were done, Tom and I had the pleasure of delivering our part of the contribution to Salvation Army, and club member Kathy Pinkerton was there to accept the donations. So it was a great event, and they're already talking about what we can do again next year. So thanks to Jerry Durning from the I think it's the Noon Kiwanis. She really did a lot of the legwork and got everything organized. So, and thanks to all of you for bringing your donations.
Fabulous. Great to hear. Yeah. I echo that. Thanks as well for everybody who contributed and those of you that could make it out there. That's awesome. Miracle League, we still have this Saturday, September 27th, 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. If you can make one of those two or both those sessions, if you could email Allison at Rotary Club of Ames at Gmail to sign up to volunteer. This Saturday, club survey. If you've received a request to fill a short survey, please take a few minutes to do that. Fewer than 15 people have responded, so let's check our
Actually,
email box again.
I forgot to update that. We're over 30 people. Yay!
Oh, yay.
Doubled
Yay.
it from last week. But
Great.
not enough of you, so please take some time.
Yeah, let's check our email box, and just takes 5 minutes to respond and get that survey back. We'd love to have it. 30 out of 120 some is pretty light, so the more we can get, the better. And there's the survey right there back in the chat box, so you can go there. All right. So to introduce today's speakers, actually, did we want to start with Susie?
Let's start with Susie. Yep.
Perfect. Susie, I'm going to turn the table over to you here and let you take the mic.
Thanks, Jamie. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Sounds good.
My name is Susie Petra. I'm a retired Ames High School teacher. I really do appreciate you giving me the time this morning for a few minutes here. Many of you may have attended Ames schools. Maybe your children have gone to Ames schools, and you might even remember back when, for decades, Iowa was a national leader in public education. However, for many years now, public education in Iowa has been underfunded, i.e. funding has not kept up with inflation. So about a year ago, a number of us in Ames joined a nationwide effort called Public School Strong. It's organized through Iowa CCI to address the crisis in funding of our schools. Ames is not alone in this effort. There's a coordinated effort across Iowa to strengthen Iowa's public schools. Here in Ames, we have been gathering, wouldn't you know? Here in Ames, we have been gathering signed petitions from the community supporting a resolution to present to our Ames School Board enumerating solutions. A specific number of signed petitions are required by law in order to present a school board with a resolution, and we have exceeded way over that number. So our resolution supporting fully funding of our public schools urges the Ames School Board to pass this resolution and then urge the governor and the legislature to support it. The resolution and all the signed petitions will be presented to the Ames School Board at their meeting on Monday, October 20th at 5:30. And I would like to invite you, which is why I spoke with Allison, and thank you for this opportunity. So I'd like to invite you and the Ames community at large to come to show your support for the Ames Public Schools and also to support our effort to strengthen the Ames Public Schools. Again, that's 5:30, Monday, October 20th. The Ames School District Administration, by the way, is located at 2005 24th Street. That's actually just west of the railroad tracks on 24th and across from Northcrest. So you probably have a visual there. Please come if you can. Bring your family. And again, thank you for letting me have a few minutes.
You bet. Thank you, Susie. What was the date again? It was Monday, October 27th?
20th.
20th. Okay. Sorry about that.
That could be, you know, whistling through my teeth here. At 5:30, Monday the 20th at 5:30 at the administration building.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I'll
Thank you.
leave you to it. If you don't have questions, I'll let you get on with your meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Are there any questions, anyone? Check the chat here.
Is there a website, Susie, that for the group?
We do not have a website, but I am sure Public School Strong as a national group is on the web.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Bye.
Perfect. Thank
Bye.
you, Susie. I'll turn it over to Lisa here to introduce our guest speaker for the day.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Andrew Collins, who is the Executive Director of Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance for Community Development, or MIPA, which is an organization that assists cities and counties with a variety of community development related activities and is a designated economic development district for Central Iowa. MIPA administers the over $10 million in transportation, housing, and workforce development. Before MIPA, he worked for 10 years with the Des Moines area MPO as principal planner and over 3 years as regional planner at the Southern Iowa Council of Governments. Andrew earned his master's degree in urban and regional planning in 2011 and a bachelor's degree in geography with a minor in business in 2009, both from the University of Iowa. And I've had the great opportunity to work with Andrew on transportation and workforce issues. And I know some of my colleagues have worked with him on housing in other areas. So Andrew, thank you for agreeing to come on today. And I will turn it over to you for your presentation.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody, for having me today. I have my I'm sharing my presentation right now. I am Andrew Collings, the Executive Director of MIPA. I have some fairly dense material, so I'll move fairly quickly through it. Happy to share the slides for everyone afterwards, as well as feel free to stop and ask questions as well. I'm more than happy to have that conversation too. I know we have some time at the end as well, but if something jumps up and you want to, ask a quick question, feel free to do so. So quick overview. What we're going to do is I'm going to give an historical context of MIPA, as well as an overview, what we do, and open it up to questions. So I have a fair amount of slides. I'll move somewhat quickly and we'll get started. So quick overview. MIPA serves a 7-county region. It's oriented to supporting local government, so cities and counties. It's the 7 counties here in Central Iowa, basically minus Madison County to a certain extent. It is a nonprofit. It was incorporated in 2021. In 2022, it received that Economic Development District designation, which was what it was originally designed to do. Back in the day, MIPA was housed within the Des Moines area MPO as a standalone organization, amongst others, and I'll get to that here in a second. MIPA initially had one planner that was working with the MPO with back-end support, but basically to accomplish a lot of the community development activities that we do today, had one planner trying to do all of it back then. So 7 counties there. Communities do pay dues, 15 cents per person. It's based on the decennial census, last updated in 2020. We basically use that to match a planning grant that we get from the Economic Development Administration, or EDA. They're the ones that provide us our development district designation. The rest of that on there is just basically a blurb from our mission, from our bylaws. But basically, we're here to work individually with communities, but also think regionally and work in that capacity as well. So we do a lot of different work, but a lot of what we do is related to our development district designation. So we might have a question, what is that? So EDA gives out these development district designations for regions that have experienced distress or to improve economic resiliency. So you might be thinking, how is that different from a Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development Office? So we don't directly work to bring businesses into communities, nor do we work to support businesses directly. We work with communities specifically on a variety of different things, a lot of times supporting economic development activities, but we don't interact with them directly. So a lot of what we might be doing is helping build out infrastructure to bring in additional economic development opportunities and activities, but we're really working with the city or county or the level of government for that area. So that's how we differ a little bit. We work a lot with chambers and economic development corporations, but we're not the same. You can see their EDDs are pretty widespread across the United States, very popular in the South, and Northeast, and the Midwest to a certain extent. A little bit less out west, apparently out in the California and Nevada area, but they're pretty popular. There's a lot of them. and that's a lot of what we do. The big lift that we have to do every 5 years is create what's called a CEDS, or Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. That allows us to keep our development district designation, which also allows us, one, to get the planning grant, but also to support applications to EDA for funding. EDA is unique in that it is the only federal agency. So in this case, I'm talking about the federal agency EDA, not IEDA, which is a state agency, but the federal agency that is the only arm of the US federal government that invests purely for economic development reasons. You might have other agencies that do similar things for different reasons, but EDA is purely for economic development purposes. And so, as a quick background, back in 2023, we had a leadership change at the MPO. And so MIPA was originally with the MPO as a standalone entity, along with some other organizations. And the MPO said, you need to go spread your wings and fly. You need to figure out something else that you need to do. So we as staff, I wasn't specifically MIPA staff at that time, but we worked to identify maybe another different host entity or be standalone. Ultimately, after we did an exhaustive search, MIPA decided to be a standalone entity. Although I do want to say we did do an RFP to see if we could find a new host agency, and we got Story County's response. So Lisa, thank you for that. That was a big help. Ultimately, we didn't go that route, but that was very generous. It's probably the best way to say that. So at becoming a standalone entity, if anybody's familiar with Council of Governments, good for you. It's not a very widely known group of organizations, but essentially, I'm going to pare this down, but MIPA acts as the Council of Governments here in Central Iowa. You can see our 7 little counties are missing from that map of what Council of Governments across the state. But basically, COGs were created over 50 years ago to help provide support to communities, cities, and counties on a wide variety of planning activities. Some of them do different things. Some do economic development themselves. Some do housing development. Some of them don't. So it just really depends on the regional needs. But we found that in Central Iowa, not having a Council of Governments was detrimental, especially in the receiving of funds. There's a lot of money that we've helped secure over the years that would not have come into Central Iowa without the support of MIPA as the de facto COG. So that's what I bring up this slide just to bring up that familiarity. For those of you who are not familiar with it, you can kind of see what COGs do across the state and where they're at. Was there a question? Sorry. No? Okay. I'll keep going. But
Andrew, sorry, there is one in the chat from
I apologize.
That's okay. It's asking, what does MPO ask for? What does it stand for?
The Des Moines Metropolitan, so MPO stands for Metropolitan Planning Organization. At its very, very core, in order to receive federal transportation funding directly, areas over 50,000 need to have an MPO. That's from federal code. It's a whole transportation related activity. I'll go into, I can go into the next slide actually a little bit, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'll do a map. This will help a little bit. Okay. So there's a lot of different geographies we're talking about here. The one on the left, the Des Moines area MPO. A City of Ames area has an MPO as well. And if you can see the cutout in that green map and the kind of in the middle there, you can see the Des Moines area MPOs cut out, and then you have the Ames MPO cut out as well. A lot of acronyms. I'm going to try my best to explain them. But the MPO essentially brings in federal transportation dollars. And so because they have that amount of funding, they were able to help support these other organizations. And so all of this, I have this green box around these different organizations. So MIPA was being supported by the MPO, but there's these others. So you have 2 housing trust funds, Story County Housing Trust, which some of you may be familiar with, the Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund, and then SERPTA, which I'm going to almost guarantee none of you have heard of, but Lisa has. But that is basically a rural MPO, although not federally created, they're state created. But SERPTA, for example, brings in $7 million in transportation funding for the region outside of those 2 MPO planning areas. So basically, the MPO told all these other organizations, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And so it was kind of that decision point of what to do next. And so we worked to transition that out. So by April 1st, MIPA had transitioned, maybe not physically, but at least as far as ending contracts, getting things revamped, that sort of thing. Moved by May 1st, MIPA of last year, not this year, 2024, had moved to a new office space in West Des Moines. Went to 1 to 5 staff positions. Now we're at 5 staff positions. We were at 4 back then, but right now we have an executive director, a couple of planners, a finance director that also works on planning work, and a workforce director. And we're actually adding a 3rd planner starting in November. So we'll be up to 6 staff positions ourselves. As you can see, we are very much a planning agency. We very focus on urban planning as a core. We do other activities as well. So now I'll bring us to the new box, the affiliate regional partners. So these are all organizations or programs that MIPA administers. So MIPA is the umbrella organization for all of these other things. Some of them are standalone, some of them are not. I'm not going to make you read all this. I actually have individual slides, so I'll just jump to that. So the first and biggest one we already kind of touched on is SRPTA. Again, acronyms abound, but basically it was created back in 1994. For those of you familiar with how 28E organizations or 28E agreements work, 28E is a code section in Iowa code that governs how cities, counties have agreements with each other. And out of that, you can create organizations. So SRPTA is a standalone entity. It's created via this 28E agreement between the cities and counties. The map on the right there, you can see again, we have the MPOs cut out, and the member communities are the counties in green, and then the purple cities. So basically cities over 3,000. So brings in $7 million in funding for cities and counties. So if you work with anybody outside of the Ames area, you'll probably see emails from me on a yearly basis, on a 6-month basis, talking about funding, when to apply, that sort of thing. So I've specifically worked with this organization in the last 10 years. So I'm very familiar with its activities and what it does, and I'm happy to answer more questions. But think road and bridge funding, street funding, rehabilitations, trail funding, 600, 700,000 a year in trail funding alone. So, supporting a lot of that, those infrastructure activities. New, and Lisa is the chair of the CLEO, I should say. Lisa, I'm trying to learn these acronyms as best I can. But the Central Iowa Workforce Development Board, which Lisa is the CLEO, the head of.
Chief lead elected official.
Thank you. I was going to struggle there for a second. That's also a 28E agreement. It's not its own organization, though. We don't have the time to get into why that is, but essentially MIPA is a grant recipient for about $2 million in federal labor funds. So it supports retraining, retooling for a wide variety of different populations. That's the best description I'm going to have of that. We started that July 1 of this year. Eric Kress has come on as our workforce director. He's great. He's very knowledgeable. He'd be best to talk about this, but just facilitating that funding into the region to do good work. So that is one of those non-standalone entities. Here's another. We also operate the Metro Home Improvement Program. That's an owner-occupied repair program here within the Des Moines, suburban area. Again, 28E, not its own entity, so everything flows onto MIPA's books, and we manage this for those communities. But basically, we provide those services to get homes redeveloped, rehabbed here in the region. So we jumped to our housing trust funds. We have 3 of them that we do. Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund. These are all standalone nonprofits. These operate in the different geographies to the right. Between the 3 of them, it's about $1.4 million in housing funds from the state that comes into our region specifically. This housing trust fund awards funding to other entities to do good work. So YSS and Boone counties received funding. Marion County Habitat has received funding. Jasper County Habitat. So just a wide variety of partners that get funding through this. Story County Housing Trust, again, 501c3, about 385, closer to 400,000 now in state funding. This goes to a wide variety of different activities, owner-occupied repairs, so rehabilitating homes or making critical repairs for those in need. Also funds other activities. Really just has to be housing-based and needs-based, but also gives funding to other entities to do their work as well within the housing space, whether it be rental assistance, shelter assistance. I mean, a wide variety. of things. And that is facilitated through getting funding as a state designated housing trust fund. Dallas County Local Housing Trust Fund, we picked that up fairly recently with October of last year. So we've been doing it about a year now. As soon as I'm done here, I actually have to go to their board meeting out in West Des Moines. So it's pretty broad based, but basically the same thing, but they only do owner occupied repair activities, but again, bringing in close to 400,000 a year. So those are our affiliate partners. But basically what our services are on the screen before you, you can see they're kind of in different buckets. You have community development, that's the grant writing and administration. That's a lot of what we do is because we work with federal and state dollars all the time and a wide variety of different federal agencies. So we will work with US DOT directly, Department of Labor, U.S. Department of Commerce, which is where EDA is at, USDA. So you can see we work with a lot of different federal agencies, and so we're pretty good about finding funding for communities for different projects. So we've done a lot of different things. A lot of it's horizontal and vertical infrastructure, but we also do housing, economic development through our SEDS, community planning. So we can work with our, and I do see the chat question, so I'll get to that here in a second. I did see that pop up, but we do comprehensive plans for communities. We're working with a couple different right now, doing housing needs assessments, data analytics and research, all that fun stuff for communities that request it. So I got a question in the chat. I'll respond to that. How is the workforce funding granting done? Do we get our fair share? Severe shortage of healthcare workers, what's being done about that? So I'll take that in two tacks. I'll go back to that slide here. So the grant, because it's federal dollars directly. So it's WIOA is the acronym. Again, I'm going to forget what that actually is, but there's different titles and it targets
Workforce Innovative Opportunity Act.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. You're much better at this than I am. And so the funding is in three different buckets: youth, dislocated worker, and adult are the three buckets we deal with. There's other buckets and other titles, but that's what we deal with. The funding gets awarded out to agencies to implement case management services. So specifically helping those who maybe need retraining or need training or need help, with a resume or just trying to actively seek out. So the funding is provided specifically to case management workers to work with people individually to bring them up in whatever way they need. And so that is how that's done. There's a couple of different agencies that work within those spaces: YSS, National Able Network, and I'm going to forget the other one, but that's those types of organizations that are in those spaces doing that work get that funding. So to answer that question, that's how that particular operation works. As far as healthcare workers, absolutely, there are some critical needs in a couple of different spaces. I would say I would try to echo Eric, our workforce director, who talks about this, is that workforce is an ecosystem. And so it's not just about the grant funding, it's about supporting all those other activities within that ecosystem here in Central Iowa. And so he definitely works in those spaces to support the improvement of the workforce totality, whether that be these specific sectors or not. I can't speak exactly to what he does all the time, but I know he's in these spaces. And so it's kind of this two-pronged approach: direct funding to try to get people into jobs, and then supporting the workforce ecosystem in a holistic sense by connecting dots, applying for grant dollars outside of this network. That's my best answer I got. So if you have any more, I'm happy to answer that here in a little bit. So we do a wide variety of planning services. Here are some examples. There's a lot on the left. I'll just point to the right. So that's the same building. The top one's looking from the side. The other one's looking kind of from the corner, but we helped Knoxville. That's a corner building in their downtown city of Knoxville down there in Marion County. And this is a grant. They got $500,000. It took more than that to completely redo that building, but to take that big metal piece off the sides, bring it down, bring it back to that original character. So that's kind of a statement picture that I like to throw in there just to show the impact that we can have in a community, specifically when you talk about community development, economic development, planning, they all intersect, especially when you get to have these cool buildings taken down and brought back up through the funding that we're able to help communities get. So beyond that, though, we do other things, maybe a little more boring, like zoning and subdivision regulations with Marion County, maybe housing needs assessments, which we've done with Boone and a couple other communities there in Story County. We're also working with the county itself through the housing plan implementation to do and fill in those gaps on those housing needs assessments on those smaller communities in the county. We do comprehensive plans. We actually, City of Norwalk, we actually administer their owner occupied repair housing program too. So we do a wide variety of stuff. For example, EDA, Story City, we helped them receive close to $700,000 for infrastructure for a development in their industrial park. We're working with the city of Huxley right now on a pretty big, couple $1 million ask to EDA as well. So we do a lot of infrastructure, a lot of that social part, the community planning is really kind of where we excel. So the last couple of slides, just in grant funding. So we kind of compare that amount of funding we've helped communities get to the dues. You can see there over $9 million since inception, and these funds would not have been able to be procured or gotten if it weren't for MIPA or the services that we do. So that's to date. Working on more. We should have a lot more this year, I think. That 9 million, I want to tell you, is outside funding in. It doesn't include anything internally within the region. And that does not include any of the funds that is procured through our affiliate partners. So this is purely MIPA applying for grants on behalf of communities or agencies and bring those dollars in. So if you want to look at that on an annual basis, it's about 2.2 million. And then we also do the 10 million that was quoted earlier through our affiliate partners. So on a given year, it's 12 to $13 million in outside funding that we facilitate into the region through work directly or through our work with our partners. So I tried to keep it fairly brief. There's a lot of new information for people. This is not something that gets brought up a ton or talked about. So I'd be happy to take any questions anyone may have. Oops.
Andrew, I'll ask a question, and I think you've somewhat addressed it, but do you work with like Main Street organizations? I know Ames is a Main Street community.
Yeah, City of Indianola, we supported their application for them to become a Main Street community. So we've actively supported applications for new Main Street organizations. Doesn't always have to be a chamber. I shouldn't say that, but we also support any Main Street organizations that want to apply for funding. Now, here's the thing with that: because we are city county based, we usually have to have that community, that city, right, support that as well. So that's one of those things that comes up with us, not frequently, I should say that at all, but it can happen where we look to the actual government to tell us what they support. So that's just more of that distinction, but we absolutely do. And I can tell you, I have not met a community that doesn't support their Main Street. So we do help with funding applications as well with them, as long as the community's on board with it.
And I saw the CBDG funding
Yes.
mentioned, so.
Yep, and that is a little different in Ames, I will tell you that. So the funding that we specifically apply for, I'll go back here, is state dollars. So Ames, because they're an entitlement city, so they're a city of over 50,000, they receive their funding directly. So we actually don't have anything to do with that within the city of Ames, city of West Des Moines, or the city of Des Moines. They're all entitlements. Ankeny chooses not to receive that funding, so they're still technically eligible for the state program. But that's a lot of what we do. We actually helped Polk County become an entitlement county last year, so they also receive an entitlement. But yeah, CDBG is a somewhat complicated funding source to deal with. A lot of overlapping geographies, I'll tell you that. I see there's a couple of questions here. I can kind of speak to that. So is funding getting any cuts recently or holding strong? Good question. Depends on the bucket. So the one holding strong, transportation. You're never going to have someone tell you we have enough transportation dollars. So that's that. I will say when things were paused earlier this year, and they were, um, transportation never was. The Iowa DOT did a great job of kind of telling everyone, hey, keep sending requests. We're not slowing down. And actually, the U.S. DOT Federal Highway has continued to intake applications for competitive grants. SERPTA submitted a competitive grant for 22, 23 million on behalf of communities here in the Central Iowa area, and they're reviewing it right now. So that's been good. Intermediate EDA actually, just because they were waiting for, this is way too technical and I can stop everybody, but basically they needed someone from the administration to get into certain spots to be able to review applications directly. And so that kind of slowed things down, but that's picked back up. I will say one program I haven't mentioned, which is the Iowa Clean Cities Coalition, that is on pause right now. And that one looks to support alternative fuel usage. They were created back in the 90s, but everything with that's on pause. So everything across the gambit has been on pause. I will say just generally, anytime you deal with, and I keep using the words horizontal and vertical infrastructure, you're going to have a pretty decent chance of holding strong, or at least holding pat. For example, CDBG, I don't know how everyone's familiar with that, but that's always been on the cut list. But just this year, both sides of Congress have funded it to at least a most extent. So there will be funding for CBG coming through, but that is a challenge. Same thing with workforce. How does that ecosystem change? We're not sure. So it's all up in the air. I'm not going to say it's great, because it's not fun to work with different spaces and have different funding sources change, but we're working through it as best we can. So another question is, do we apply for the grants directly, or are we helping to write the grants on behalf of cities and counties? So generally, we are writing it on behalf of cities and counties, but we also can apply for grants directly. SERPTA, for example, applied on behalf of communities, but also SERPTA was the applicant, even though all the funding would be going to cities and counties. Well, cities in that case. But oftentimes we are working with a member community, and it's on their behalf. So they end up being the ones to submit directly, or we submit on behalf of them, to answer that question.
Andrew, I appreciate all the work that you do and your organization does. I do, as you mentioned, worked with your organization now with Eric Kress on the workforce development, since I am the CLEO. But I also work with you on transportation, since I'm also the current chair of HERDA.
Right.
And so just identifying transportation needs and working on that, not only for Story County, but for the region that HERDA provides services through.
Yeah, the landscape is that every MPO, actually SERPTA is called an RPA, enough of the acronyms, but basically the rural and urban parts of our state have these planning agencies that support the transit agencies that are also across our state. So SERPTA is the supporting agency for HERDA. Des Moines MPO supports, DART. Ames MPO supports SciRide, although SciRide, I think, does a really good job of coordinating with HERDA and across Story County. So yeah, a lot of planning.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of planning going on.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing today, and Lisa for bringing this great conversation to us, and Susie Petra earlier on for her contribution today as well. Hey, there's another one in the chat here.
Oh, yes. Midas. Yes. Yep. We have COGS all over the state. And actually, that's one thing that we're having discussions here at MIPA on, is how do we become one of those council of governments? There's enough benefits to warrant that discussion. And just so you know, it takes an act of the legislature. So wish us luck on that. Thank you, everybody. I'll stop sharing.
Oh, you're good, Andrew. Thank you so much. Again, appreciate that. And if anybody has any further questions, I'm sure we could find a way to get those answered. But yes, thank you. And again, for Susie Petra as well for that event coming up Monday, October 20th at 5:30. So thank you for sharing that, Susie. Yeah, any other business today? Anybody?
Mm-mm.
Well, not seeing any more. Let's go ahead and close out with our four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth?
That's true.
Is it
Is
fair
it
to all
fair to all
concerned?
concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your Monday. We appreciate it. And we'll see you in person next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again, Andrew.
Yep.